want to encourage everybody to ask questions if you have any questions of our speaker. I want to thank everybody else, everybody who came, like my sister said, but also we want to be reminded why we came out tonight. We came out tonight because there is a need for an awareness about the seriousness of domestic violence, and our society is all too often becoming normalized. And so this event is to show the healing strategies that we can use in our relationships so that we don't resort to hitting each other, and the importance of love that we share with one another, and how much that love can transform our lives. So without further ado, we have Angie as our first speaker, followed by Carol Levette, and then we'll have Tamu. We want to thank you all again, ladies, for coming out and sharing your wisdom and your courage. Thank you. Bless the Lord. Oh, actually, no.
41 years old. I just turned 41 on the 18th of October. And I'll say I've been free of domestic violence for a year. This time last year, I wasn't in a good space. My abuser broke me. My abuser I couldn't live life. I don't know what the right words to say. I lost a lot of friends because of it, but then I realized, like, those people that just said, oh, I don't want to deal with you because, you know, you still want to be with him or whatever, they weren't my friends. So I started talking to God. And with talking to God, you know, I won't go into it, but like for 3 days, you know, I didn't know where my life was going to go. And God answered those prayers for me, and He took that person out of my life. Like I said, I keep saying, this time last year, it was dark. But I'm here, and I'm smiling. I have my kids with me. My daughter's grandfather is here supporting me or whatever. And I can't do nothing but thank God. I talk to God just like I'm talking to you guys. Yeah. You can't get out of it. My whole goal or whatever is to be there for somebody that might not have nobody. The worst thing that I went through was not having nobody. I want to help the next woman or whatever. I might not be able to help the next man, but I'm a woman, and I know there's other women that are going through what I went through. I want to help them. So I forgave. I don't hate him. You know, I feel like my mom always told me hate is a strong word. I don't hate you. You know what I mean? I'm not even looking for an apology, really. But as long as you know that I'm a strong woman or whatever, and that I'm going to get over this, I'm fine. No, nobody ever finds themselves you don't ever want to find yourself in a position where it's like, you know, back in 2012 when I met him, I didn't think that I would be in this position or whatever, but I was. I needed him to know that he broke me down. I needed him to know that he almost destroyed me. I needed him to know, like, all these things. But I also needed him to know, I forgive you. You know what I mean? I forgive you, and I love you. You know what I mean? But we won't be going back. We won't be going backwards. That's not something that I'm going to do. So, that's what I had to say.
This is who I was. This is who I was for 33 years of my life. Mental, physical. This is who I was. My name is Carol Levette. I'm a part of JITV Church Ministries. Amen.
Amen.
He's the one that delivered me. Amen. He's the one that set me free. I casted my cares upon him. And because I did that, he set me free. Amen. Amen. Take a look. This is abuse. Take a look. This is what some of us have gone through and survived. Amen. Amen. Take a look. This could be you. This could be your family members. This could be your aunt, your uncle, your grandmom, your neighbor, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your child, your grandchild. Take a look. Take a look of what I will never let somebody else do to me again, because I know my self-worth. Amen? Amen. You will start the exercise. Better. Feet up. mental and physical. Thrown off a porch twice. Snapped my leg twice. Got hit in my head so hard that my ears rang for a week. Teeth shattered. Beat up. When your own family gives up on you as a child, it tells you that you're less than nothing. Mental and physical. It's garbage. Be raped. When somebody tells you that you're less than nothing, when somebody makes you feel less than who you are, when somebody puts you down because they are down, be raped. Be raped. It's when they have low self-esteem and takes it on in you. And because you're not in position and you don't really know who you are, you haven't been nurtured, a couple of things happen along the way. You fall into the trap. You don't know how to get out. Be raped. It's garbage. Control. This is what they love the most. Telling you you're nothing, you'll never become anything, everything that you do will never accomplish anything, everything that you are, you're nasty, you're ugly, you're fat, you're skinny, you're dark, you're light. Control. Can't go to the store, can't sleep in a room with me, won't have the keys to your house, tried to destroy you. I bought a house with someone. The control was I started getting help. I didn't know I was abused. It was a therapist that told me, congratulations, young lady, you have survived. When I went home, he had read the literature, and he went to the court to get me thrown out of the house that I co-signed. Control. But God, it's garbage. Manipulation, taking control of you, telling you what you can do and what you can't do, where you can go and where you can't go. When you wake up, when you're supposed to go to sleep, you're watching TV, he turns it off. Manipulation. It's not gender specific. It's not. Manipulation is when someone tries to take control, which is in the garbage, of you. Manipulation is garbage. Damage. Deep-seated wounds. It takes a very long time to heal unless you go to the Christ that I did. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what worked for me. I tried everything. Self-medication. Suicide how many times? Crying in the middle of the night. God, please deliver me. Help me, God. How come I keep meeting the same kind of people all the time, God? How come I keep meeting the same kind of men, God? Oh. Damage. I can't do this job because he said that I will never become anything. I can't do it. Oh, I can't start my life over again because I lost my house. It's always going to be just what they all said. Starts from birth. Goes forward. If you're not nurtured, damage. I believe now in my heart that some people don't even know the damage that they're doing. I encourage everyone to always speak life over your children. Always speak life over your friends. Speak life over your enemies because it's freeing you.
Amen.
Damage. Hurt. I don't even think we need to go into this, do we? Each and every one of us has suffered it one way or the other, whether you were abused or not. When you're hurt, when it's deep-seated, when you can't see yourself out of it, when it makes you cry, when you can't see truth in other people, hurt. When you walk past a certain corner, you see a certain thing that reminds you of something, and then all of a sudden that smile turns upside down. Hurt. But my God says he heals all the brokenhearted and he gathers up all the wounds. That's true. That scripture, Psalms 147 and 3. So those papers that I passed out to each and every one of you, my friends and family and foe, I'm asking you to cast your cares upon the Lord. I'm asking you to write something down. It hurts you. If you got to say something about a friend that you really want to help, put it in the garbage. Because that's where it's going to go. And then we're going to cover it with the blood. I'm encouraging each and every one of you to write something down and put it in the garbage, because it doesn't belong to you. There's no reason for you to hold on to it. That's not what he wants for your life. It's not what he wants for your life. God is love. God is peace. God is joy. God is happiness. God is the Redeemer. God is the Deliverer. God is self-destruction. So one by one, can you come up here and put this stuff in the garbage where it belongs? And we're going to cover it together, and we're just not even going to let it surface again. Amen? I was leery about coming this evening. I've been thinking about it all for about 2 months. So I had to begin the healing process so I can help people heal. It's just so much joy. That's why I wouldn't even start tonight without praying. Because I know what he's done for me, and he has no respect for person. If he's done it for me, he's going to do it for you. All you got to do is ask. When you feel like somebody's trying to make you feel less than or worse than you already are, that's the beginning signs of abuse. It's mental and physical. Some people like to tell you that you're nothing, that you'll never be anything. That's the beginning. Then there's that first slap. Oh, I'll never hit you again. I'm so sorry. Oh, I don't know what came over. Oh yeah, they do know what came over them, but they're waiting for the next time. You know as a queen or a king how you're supposed to be treated. And nobody should treat you anything other than that.
Why do we always want to apply the term judgment when we talk about women who are survivors? And why do we have many names like stupid, pathetic, pitiful? Why does she stay? We always want to ask her, why does she stay? But we never ask him, why does he hit her in the first place? We never, ever ask that question. We always put the owning on the victim. Why is that? And when you look at our services amongst the state of New Jersey, and it's no different, I'm sure, than any other state, we have many victim services, but we have very few batterer intervention services. Why is that? Because what that means is we're putting, once again, the owning on her to fix the problem. And we're not putting the owning where it belongs. If she didn't start it, why are we asking her to fix it? But that's what we do in our world. And then we call her all these names. We want her to solve this issue. And I just want to put a little context to my story. I know we're talking about domestic violence, but I can't talk about that unless you understand where I came from. An 8-year-old girl raped from 8 to 15. Raped by not Mr. Johnny, the stranger on the street, but raped by a first cousin, and then raped by another first cousin, then another relative, and then another uncle, and then another relative. And that's another thing. We always want to tell our kids about stranger danger. We should. I'm not telling you not to talk about Mr. Johnny that's drunk on the corner. I'm not telling you not to talk about him. But you need to talk about Uncle Johnny that's in the house, or Daddy that's in the house, or Pop that's in the house, or Grandma that's in the house. You know, we want to be truthful. We need to talk about the folks that are in the house, because what we found out that statistically is happening more with relatives than it is with Mr. Johnny on the street. And truthfully, that child might be even safer with Mr. Johnny on the street than they are in that house. So we got to teach our kids and have a conversation with our children. So you have this abused child that was raped at 8 years old, raped until I was 15 years old. And then I figured out, how do I cope at 8 years old with being raped, penetrated, not just touched, but I was penetrated at 8 years old and so forth. Then I had to figure out, how do I cope with life? And those times times my parents, they drank. My mom wasn't saved. She wasn't a Christian at the time, so they had house parties. So there was a whole lot of alcohol in the house, and I saw what alcohol did. They got excited, so I said, I want to be excited too. So I partaked at 10 years old in alcohol, and I started drinking at 10. They were so drunk, they didn't know how much was missing, so I helped myself. I was born and raised in Camden, New Jersey, so my brothers sold drugs. So I had access to marijuana and anything that I wanted. So I started smoking and getting high when I was 12. That's how I coped, because I was constantly getting raped. And folks felt like they had access and they can do whatever they wanted to do to me. So I coped with alcohol and drugs starting at 10 years old, and it just continued and continued and continued. And I still say to myself today, I'm amazed that I actually graduated from high school. Actually had a college that accepted me. I probably shouldn't name the college because you'd be like, whoa, you accepted that chick. You must not be a good college. But yeah, I actually got accepted by a college as a drunk. And I made it 3 years. I'm telling you, this all has a context and a purpose of getting to where I'm getting to. Really don't know how I made it 3 years. First year, I guess I was a C student. Second year, I got, was on probation. Third year, I got expelled, because I did absolutely nothing but get high and get drunk. That's all I did. I was a drunk. I was an alcoholic. By the time, I would say 16, 17, that's all I did. And one of the things that I think about now, people would always say to me, "Whoa, but you was always the life of the party. You was always excited and you was always smiling." Yeah, the girl was always drunk and high, but no one saw that. So my first comment I want to say, when you see that young child in their teens and they're promiscuous, don't just say, well, you nasty, or you need to stop sleeping around. She ain't promiscuous just to be promiscuous. Or that young man is not sleeping around and being promiscuous just because. Many times they've been sexually abused. Many times than not, they've been sexually abused. So then we start having a conscience, start looking at that and saying, maybe there's something underneath that. Maybe they're not fast. That's what we like to say. They so fast. So we have to remove the judgments, because we have a whole lot of judgments in society and stigmas that we like to put on folks, not realizing there's a lot of pain that folks are going through. So that's my first thing I just want to say. Can we just be conscious and be aware that there's a lot of pain in our youth? And until we recognize it and start asking some questions and start listening, not hearing, listening. I actually teach a class, a whole class, and listening. Because we got ears, we can hear, but a lot of us don't listen. Because when folks are talking, we already formulating our question about what we're going to say, and then we miss everything a person said. So we have to learn to begin to listen to our youth and listen to folks when they're crying out. But it's just me. I didn't think nothing of it. I go to the library. Time to catch the bus. So I'm leaving. I'm going to the bus. So I'm walking. All of a sudden, I hear somebody yelling far across the parking lot. I'm walking, and I'm just looking, but I'm walking, I'm just looking. I hear someone yelling. He gets closer, he gets closer, he gets closer. So then I hear my name. Tamo, Tamo. So I finally look, and I'm saying to myself, oh, that's that guy that I met yesterday. So he gets right here in my ear, and he starts yelling at me. Just met him yesterday. Crazy. He says, where were you? And I'm like, and I start laughing. I get real stupid sometimes. I start laughing. I'm like, dude, who are you talking to? And he was like, where were you? You were not where you were supposed to be. I just met him yesterday. He don't know anything about me. And he said, I see that you never eat. I brought you some food, so I figured you was hungry, but you wasn't where you were supposed to be. So I say to him, you still got it? Because I'm hungry. Yeah, I'm real stupid, right? I say, because I'm hungry. And he said, yeah, so he gave it to me. So I took it and I'm eating it. But in the midst of me starting to eat it, walking to the bus, he stopped me and he said to me, don't you ever not be where you're supposed to be. And he's pointing his finger at me. I don't even know this dude's last name. Just met him yesterday, during that time. And I just said, whatever. And I'm eating my food and I'm getting on the bus. We were together for 5.5 years. Sound very loving, right? But understand my context. You're talking about a wounded 8-year-old. And this is another thing, when you talk about someone that has had trauma, not telling you that I had a mindset of an 8-year-old, but my emotional level never grew up. And I was still stuck between 8 and 15 years old because that's when I got sexually abused. So you want to talk about low self-esteem, it was way lower than what anyone can even imagine. And all I wanted was someone to pay attention to me, hear me, and love me. Now, it wasn't love I was getting from him, but he paid attention to me. So I had to figure out to make sure he was not getting a hold of my child. And where would I go? And I had a very supportive family, but my family never knew about the violence. They knew nothing. You know, and I kept it a secret because my brothers were crazy, literally. And they still are, because they still say to today, I shouldn't tell y'all that. But anyway, we're going to leave that alone. Sometimes I realize what I'm saying because I run with my mouth, so I'm going to let that go. But, that's funny. Very supportive family. And when I did decide to leave, it was just as simple as calling my mom. And yes, there was no conversation, there was no struggle. But I have to tell you, I'm a very small percentage of the world that happens to. And I'm going to be real. I'm a very small percentage of the world that someone can call up on the phone and say, I need to come, and they say, okay. Because a lot of folks don't have the support. They lose the support, as my sister was saying. She lost her friends. Folks didn't want to support her. And that's what happens most of the time. And statistics will tell you between 50 to 75% of the women that do leave, they lose their life. And as you have already learned, that's because of power and control. You know, so when we start talking about judgment and calling names, understand what these women are struggling against. A lot of women stay because of financial, because of their children, because they have no place to go. And then I've heard other people say, you know, well, if that was me, I don't care what happened, I'm just going to pick up my children and leave. You know what happens if you pick up your children and leave and end up on the street? I know they're called something different here in Philadelphia, but in New Jersey they call it DCP&P, Department of Child and Protection, Permanency and Protection. What do they call it in Philly? DHS. They come. And there's a lot of homeless women sleeping in their cars with their children because they left relationships and they have no place to go. But if the right person calls DHS or call DCP&P, they're going to lose their children. And a lot of women don't want that to happen. Their children are their world, as some of you might know if you're parents. So we got to be careful of our judgments and what we say to people and how we treat people. Any questions, thoughts, comments? I feel like I've just been talking. Yes.
Can I ask for whatever, when you do come across those people that like to judge and like to say, oh, you didn't leave, da da da. What I'm going through right now, as I like to call it, what do you do once you're out and once you're living your life? What do you do when those people, those same people, come back? Because like right now, I'm at a cross point. Do I continue to cut these people off, or do I invite them back into my life? Like, what do you do? What would you do? What's your advice?
Well, let me say this. For me, I've never had that happen because no one never knew.
Okay.
No one ever knew, and that's a big thing I get now. Moo, why didn't you tell us? You hurt our feelings. Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped you. We could have this. We could have that. All that stuff. But I kept it a secret. I had my own reasons why I kept it to myself. But what I would say for those that are struggling, I don't know that they were really your real friends.
Yeah.
Because when you're down and low and someone leaves you, that's when I really need you.
Yeah.
I don't need you when everything is great and everything is good. I mean, I need you then too.
Yeah.
You know, I need a friend to hang out with and have good conversation. But when things are tough, I need you then too. So I don't know if those are the right folks to be in your life. That's just, yeah, that's just my opinion. I have a book. I made sure I remember to plug my book. I wrote a book called Finally Free, and which is over there. And I'm 45. I started to write the book when I was between 29 and 30. It became therapeutic. So this is all getting to your question. I began to show my family, my mom, my brother. I showed them first. I showed them the manuscript before it hit live, before the whole world, because that's when they found out about this. That's when my mom and them found out when I was 30 years old. That's when they found out I was raped between 8 and 15. So this was all brand new to them. So even to today, they want to know who they are, and I refuse to tell. I refuse to tell for a few different reasons. If I tell, now it becomes all about them, and it has nothing to do with them, and now we're going to have folks want to retaliate and want to kill them and want to harm them, literally. I still have one brother who keeps ever so often will say, I'm like, come on now, you learned about this some years ago, who would say to me, I want to know. I want to know. And he like tries to pressure me in wanting to know. And I said, it has nothing to do with it. There's actually one cousin who is still very close. And I say this, my mom has 7 brothers and sisters, and all of their children, all of us were raised like brothers and sisters. So he's more like my brother. And when our family get together for anything and everything, we always hug and we kiss on the cheek and we love. And so I see him still today when we have family functions. And he'll look at me sort of like his head down and he'll say, hey, Moo, he's much older than me. And I'll say, hey, love, hey, cuz. And I'll hug him and kiss him on the cheek. Because I forgave him. I had to. I absolutely had to. And if I tell my family that he was the one that did it, he wouldn't be here today. I know it. So I won't wear that hurt on me. I won't wear that guilt on me if something happens to him. I just let God take care of it. And when you look at his life, it's not too great. Not that I wish it, but it's just not too great. So I have forgiven him, and like I said, I see him often. And like I said, I truly forgave him, and I have no animosity in my heart for him. A couple things. I don't know about y'all, but I know in my family, every time we have a family function, folks will say, well, make sure you hug and kiss all your family members and your auntie and this one and this one. First lesson, I don't do that anymore, and I ask folks, please don't do that anymore. I know it might seem disrespectful, but never force your children to go hug nobody. Nobody, don't kiss nobody, don't sit on no Uncle Harry's lap, don't touch, don't nothing. That's number one. Number two, something that was never taught to me, no one ever taught me about the true names of body parts. I don't know if you understand, but it's very important that children understand their body parts. Because if they understand their body parts and respecting themselves and knowing that they can talk about it and have the conversation, it does make a difference. Because I've seen it make a difference, which is something that I changed and have done for my children. We are so afraid to talk about honest names of body parts. And it might seem kind of simple, but you don't have to understand when children are raped and lawyers get a hold and that child said he touched my cookie. You know what that lawyer does with that? All because a child wasn't taught vagina. Because we as adults are so afraid to tell a child the correct name of a body part. So all those different kind of things make a difference in what happens to a child. Can make a difference in what happens to a child. Not 100%, but we have to be a little bit more proactive than what we are when we talk about protecting our children and the conversations that we have with them. Have to be a lot more.